Hi there, and welcome to this week's episode of The Real Grill. Thanks for tuning in. In this week's episode, we'll be discussing Werewolf by Night, which is the first of presumably many Marvel Studios feature presentations, I think they call it, which is more like a special, an hour-long special. So in the special, we'll be following 5 monster hunters who are gathered after the death of their leader, Ulysses Bloodstone. As they're gathered, they'll be put to the test in a competitive hunt for a certain monster, and whoever comes out on top will become the new leader and the new wielder of the Bloodstone. So the interesting thing about this film is that it's actually filmed like a 1930s Universal horror monster kind of film. It's very well done and very interesting watch, and I very highly recommend watching it before watching this review, because it'll be very spoiler heavy, and it's more enjoyable to watch a review after you've actually watched the thing we'll be reviewing. So yeah, give it a check on Disney Plus, and then please enjoy the review.
It's called Werewolf by Night, but you can't tell what time of day it is, and there's barely any werewolves in it. So I'm just a bit confused with the time. Obviously,
I'm pretty sure it was at night though. I mean, it looked like it was at night.
It's Werewolf by Night. It's just
it's just one Werewolf by Night. But I'm just saying, you could not tell if it was by day, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. That's a good thing. Yeah, man. So
it's a black and white film, basically.
Yeah.
Black, white, and red.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. It's a bit use your imagination for that part, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Obviously, the general premise of the movie is so these 5 monster hunters have been, gathered this secret sort of monster hunting cabal, where I think the name of the leader is Ulysses Bloodstone. So he's recently passed away. Now they have to appoint a new leader to lead their faction. In order to do so, one of them has to kill the monster, which is, I think, called the Man-Thing. And yeah, obviously that's pretty much the setup. That's the premise of the short. Well, it's a special, isn't it? It's not quite a movie because it's under an hour long. Which, I don't know. Did you guys feel that it was the right length, or did it leave you wanting more?
So yeah, I thought it was a perfect length. It didn't overstay its welcome. It showed everything it needed to show. It was I can just go ahead and say I really enjoyed it.
It told us what we needed to know about the main characters without going into heavy exposition mode and bombarding us with origin stories for Elsa Bloodstone and for Jack Russell, who are the 2 main characters. So yeah, I appreciated that. Yeah, I think I'm glad it didn't stretch this out into like 7 episodes or something like that, like a series, and I'm glad it wasn't like an hour and a half, 2-hour movie. I think the format they did, which it seems like they're experimenting with, was perfect for this kind of story, because these characters I don't think are that well known and aren't that cared about, to be honest, but they want to try and branch out in the MCU, so I thought it was probably a good way to do it. And it might be a format that they use to introduce minor characters in the MCU going forward. So if this works, I think that's what they'll probably use rather than doing series, because there's some other Marvel characters I'm sure they could introduce in this format rather than giving them an origin story movie or a whole 9-episode series. I think it was in that respect.
Yeah, definitely.
Did anybody know it was going to be Man-Thing? Because that was a big surprise for me, that as soon as he popped up on the screen, I was like, oh shit, it's a Man-Thing movie. I had no freaking idea. I thought it was just going to be some weird werewolf kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I assumed the monster that they were going to be hunting was going to be a werewolf.
Yeah. So that was a really cool surprise.
Yeah, I guess it was a bit of a misdirection, wasn't it? Because, just kind of surprised the audience and, lead them off the kind of the what they came to see. But I think I was definitely surprised, because I wasn't expecting the duo of, well, I didn't mean, obviously at this point we're giving away spoilers, but the duo of the werewolf and the Man-Thing having that kind of symbiotic relationship. So it kind of reminded me of Rocket and Groot, only Rocket being more of like a sweetheart. He's just like a nice guy who doesn't really want to hurt anyone, but obviously he has his alter ego. No. I mean, as in because obviously Rocket is a bit of a sociopath in the MCU.
Oh, you mean the Rocket in this?
Yeah, in this one.
Oh,
in
yeah,
this one.
yeah,
I'm saying
yeah,
he's
sorry,
like
yeah.
he's a nice guy. Do you know what I mean? Like he's just trying
Yeah,
to
he is,
get by really. He just happens to be in this cult. But the obviously Man Thing, he's this kind of gentle giant until you present yourself as a threat. Then he just has no mercy. He just like obliterates anybody in his way, which I really like that kind of archetype. It's really cool. So yeah, man. I mean, what did you guys think about the whole black and white aspect? Did you think that was really well done, or did you kind of did it leave you wanting more?
I think for this particular short film or whatever, I think it does work. I think obviously they're going for this whole horror aspect, and I think it also allowed them to introduce so we were talking before the video, introduce like more blood and gore than they probably would have got away with had this been in color. So I think in that respect as well, I thought it was a good way to both apply the gore that I think a movie like this probably needs, and also get around the constraints that probably the producers and Disney are like, yeah, it has to be PG or 12 or whatever. So yeah, I thought it would work for this particular type of movie, but it wouldn't work for others, in my opinion. But I thought they did it well.
I was going to say, well, I think. Oh, sorry, go ahead. So what was that, Law? What was that last?
I was saying the colours of red that were of the Bloodstone, I thought parts as well. I thought that were done well as well. I thought it was done quite well from that point of view as well.
I was just going to add also, the black and white were old traditional kind of style horror. So I guess it allowed them to stick to board with special effects and stuff as well. And actually make it more about the content rather than, how the creatures looked and how the effects looked, which I thought was pretty good. So you don't get overwhelmed by it, especially considering it's only like 52 minutes anyway. So that was pretty calm.
Yeah, I felt like the whole sort of vintage style, black and white aspect of it. It really not only did it kind of allow them to get away with more violence, but the CG actually looks a lot more believable, really. With the Man Thing, I couldn't really tell if it was VFX or animatronics until obviously they showed it in color. Then I was like, all right, I get it. But I feel like that really does help with that transition. And this also kind of makes the future of sort of horror in the MCU a bit more promising. I like that they're really embracing more horror in the MCU, because obviously that paves the way for Blade. Obviously that's hopefully that works out, but this show it's more of like a screen test for how we're gonna show more gruesome scenes on screen, obviously with like color correction to make it not as vivid, grotesque. And also one other thing about this movie is I love how they, the attention to detail with the lighting, like the silhouettes and like the shadows and stuff like that. It kind of gave that authenticity of like the vintage, because it really did look like I was watching a movie from the 50s or in that era. Like,
I quite like the little blips they had on screen. Like sometimes you get the fuzzy line and blips. That you used to get like on a lot of old kind of, and even like old VHS that they could kind of help to immerse you in the fact that they weren't going for that old of filming.
That, as well as like the whole style of it, you can tell that the director and the editors and stuff really studied old movies, because the way it's like edited, paced, and like filmed as well, like a certain camera angles and ideas of shots, was really definitely very, very was it 50s, 60s kind of horror, like when he finally transforms into a werewolf. And it doesn't show him, it shows the lady, and it's zooming into her as the shadow of the silhouettes in the back is transforming. Yeah. Beautiful shots like that is what really, really just gets me excited, just beautiful. So, you can tell very, very... Oh, yeah, another thing is, I never knew that the director was Michael... What's his name? Giacchino. The composer for the Batman and the composer for all these, like, films and stuff. He's a composer. I had no idea he was a
really?
director.
Oh, wow.
I think this is his first director role. So kudos to him. He did a fantastic job on this one.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
He really smashed it, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
from a visual aspect. My only issue with the special is it kind of just felt a little bit paper thin. Like aside from the premise, there wasn't really anything in terms. Like it definitely wasn't a scary movie. Like it definitely wasn't. There was definitely no real feeling of dread or feeling of fear. And I think the reason why is because the protagonists are the monsters. Like with a horror movie, you're supposed to put yourself in the position of the helpless victims, like building up that sense of fear, that dread, that suspense. But the other thing is, obviously, we're reminded that we're watching a Marvel, an MCU movie special, because of they have to put in the jokes. Like they just can't like do a complete sort of horror movie with just like tonal, that do you know what I'm saying? Like there's that tonal whiplash. Where it's like, here we go again.
One-liners.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing is, like, there wasn't horror elements, he said, but I think that, I mean, for me personally, I think I felt some suspense in it. I don't know if it's because I was watching it at night in a dark room, like, before I went to sleep, but there was bits where it would kind of, where they first go into the graveyards kind of place, and then they're just looking around for the monster, and the music's playing, and you can hearing a thumping sound with the bell and everything. I think that whole sequence was really nice. I felt some suspense there. I know what you mean about no real fear or anything, but I think I definitely felt suspense in that, which I really enjoyed.
I think the scene as well, it was shot well, but again, for me, it felt really bland, and I think maybe it's because of the short. It's because they weren't able to flesh out the fear that they feel for this monster.
No.
So.
And you don't really like sympathize with any of the characters.
Yeah, and I think that's the downside to it being a short, where you can't really flesh out the characters well.
Yeah.
In fact, if there's anyone you do sympathize with, it's the monsters. I think that's the problem as well. Usually in horror films, the monster is the antagonist, and you're usually afraid of them because they're usually just merciless killers. Whereas it was revealed pretty early on that the monster that they were chasing was literally trying to run away. It wasn't like going around killing people because that's what it does. It was literally caught to be used for this traditional hunt, and it only hurt the people that were literally trying to hurt it. So that removes a bit of the horror tension as well, because this monster isn't actually a threat to them unless they attack him. So I guess that also removes some of the dread and the fear that you would get from like other horror movies.
If I can quickly just kind of reply on the bit about the other, sympathizing with other characters. I think that was the kind of the point, because the main character for this was the werewolf as well as Man-Thing, because Man-Thing is actually one of the kind of more popular characters in the Marvel comic book world anyway. So I think that was intentional. I really feel like that. Because, I mean, to be honest, the other characters weren't that interesting, apart from the werewolf and the daughter of Ulysses. Apart from that, I think they were supposed to be kind of bland and stuff, and you care more about the actual monster.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like anyway. Just.
Yeah, I think I'm sorry if I'm stuttering and stuff, but yeah, like, I feel like that whole order, Ulysses and the whole order behind them, you kind of do feel like I got the impression that they literally are just hunting monsters, regardless whether monsters are good or bad. I think there's a like.
Okay. All right. Well, connections is a bit shoddy, but I get that this is not meant to be like really like horror. It's just a bit of fun. It's more of a thrill. It's more of a quick thrill than anything else. And obviously meant to kind of remind you of those Universal monster movies. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because I really got that vibe from it. What did you guys think of like the acting, the performances of the actual actors?
I mean, they could definitely mimicked the type of acting you'd see in the 50s horror film, which maybe that's what I'm guessing that's what they were going for. Yeah, because it was a bit ridiculous sometimes and fun sometimes. So
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's very over the top.
Yeah, I think I was point to be 50s, 60s horror and be very over the top and dramatic and
very dramatic.
So I think that was deliberate, and I probably for this particular setting, it probably was correct. So I think they've done a good job in that in terms of this is what they were going for. So yeah, I didn't have an issue particularly with any of the actors, to be fair.
When you think of old horror movies, that's what you kind of go for. You see the over dramatic acting, so something scary come in, it's over dramatically scared, and it's like, oh my god.
I think one part of the movie that reminded me of that. There's a scene where like the werewolf is taking out all the guards and the door is closing at the.
Oh yeah,
one guard at the back who's just there cowering, and I'm not sure if he's thinking, should I stay? Should I leave? Should I stay? Should I leave? And and then he gets. But yeah, that's an example.
Yeah, no, that was definitely one of my favorite scenes.
I don't know what he was doing. And then I'm not sure what the point of that door closing was. He just walks out the door, like across the room. Like,
yeah, it just felt like a little vignette. They were just kind of doing it for the effect of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the action, and I liked the creature design as well. I thought the creature design was on point, really. They put a lot.
Yeah, that's the thing with the werewolf as well. Sorry if I can, while you're talking about the creature design, I actually like that. It wasn't like it actually felt like old school, like, because it felt like you kind of put like hair on top of like actual person and stuff. It felt something in between a professional made one and like a 50s made werewolf.
Yeah.
It wasn't CGI, like proper like a CGI. It was designed to look like a guy.
Yeah, exactly.
You like in
because that was reminds me of American Werewolf in London. So,
yeah.
That's the kind of look it gave me.
Exactly.
Cool,
man. I mean, yeah, I think that's pretty much the meat and bones of the special. Really, there wasn't really anything more to it. As I said,
there was very few fight scenes. So obviously there was the kind of main one which stuck with me was the scene where the dude gets his arm chopped off. And she ends up shooting him with his own crossbow while his hand is still holding the crossbow. Ultimate disrespect.
I love that bit. That bit was so cool. Like, honestly,
I actually thought for the type of movie they're going for, there were actually a few more fight scenes than I was expecting. Because obviously, if you're thinking of these old horror movies, there's only really one big fight scene. So the fact that we got 2 or 3 out of it was that's quite.
Again, 50 minutes sticking to the time, trying to get everything in that they need to make it feel complete. So,
absolutely, man.
But yeah.
What did you guys notice, like the sound design or the score? Did that really stand out to you, or was it kind of just?
I think I did mention that it helped build suspense in certain scenes, especially the bit when they first go into the graveyard and don't know what the monster looks like or anything like that. You can definitely tell it was Michael. I butcher his surname every time.
Yeah. No, we know who you're talking about.
Giacchino, sorry. Michael Giacchino. Yeah, you can tell it's his kind of work with the soundtrack stuff.
Sure.
So I can appreciate it. He's a definitely good composer. I wasn't blown away or anything, but I don't know. I'm guessing he was too busy directing than doing any soundtrack stuff. But
I do really want.
Soundtrack?
Yeah, no, I didn't really. It didn't like stand out to me necessarily, but I did feel that atmosphere, and like knowing what I know now, because obviously I didn't even realize he did the score for the Batman movie. So now I want to go back and listen to the actual sound design, pay more attention to it even, and maybe even just listen to it independently, because like I know if obviously when you're listening to it properly, like hearing all the intricate parts to it, you appreciate it a lot more. So I think I will go back and do that. But I mean, it did the job. I think a good score isn't really meant to stand out anyway. It's just meant to like kind of immerse you.
Especially given the style they're going for. I think it was enough to immerse you and kind of make you like, it was enough for you to realize it isn't modern. You know what I mean? It was quite distinct. In that sense. Exactly. So yeah.
So yeah, that's.
Guys, do you guys think any of the all the other kind of monster statues do you think those were like kind of Easter egg kind of things, or kind of prompts to say these are the type of things you can expect?
It was just atmosphere, really.
Just atmosphere?
Yeah, maybe. I didn't recognize anything, to be honest.
Obviously stood out. I was wondering if that was meant to be some kind of especially when the werewolf guy signals out. I fought him a few times.
Yeah.
I just think you see a hall of hunters, they got trophies. I think it was just that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing there might be one. Maybe that one that you mentioned where you said I fought that few times. Maybe that's something, but obviously, I don't know much about that part of Marvel to know, unfortunately. But it seemed like a really big bat or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, like some kind of Dracula type.
Or maybe it's related to Blade or Morbius in some way. I don't know, but yeah, maybe I'll look that up later. But yeah, nothing really stood out in that sense.
But yeah, they're definitely. I think if they can, they're definitely going to branch out in the MonsterVerse within the Marvel universe. Whether those were Easter eggs to any of those monsters, I'm not sure, because obviously they were all dead. So whether they're talking about their kids or whatever, but yeah, or other types of the same species. But yeah, whether those were, they're definitely going to try and branch out. And I think they are going to try and link Blade to that MonsterVerse as well. Because obviously he's a part of it. So yeah, if this is successful, which pretty much everything Marvel does is more or less a success, whether it's good or not.
There'll always be fanboys to give it high ratings.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be interested to see more of the MonsterVerse because it will be at least different from the superhero stuff, I guess.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I do want something. Yeah, more different stuff would be nice.
It's
more
interesting
creative,
it's interesting you bring up MonsterVerse because I remember Universal Studios, they tried to do this. They've tried to do this a few times actually, and every time it's just been a complete failure. So if this actually does take off, if it actually becomes a thing, I can just imagine how annoyed they'll be.
Well, they're fortunate enough to have the Marvel tagged onto it as well, which is a pretty good cushion to have to beat you up. Whereas obviously they were doing it off the back of with not as well known an IP. Obviously, the individual monsters are well known, but in terms of turning it into a MonsterVerse, they didn't have a massive juggernaut like MCU backing it.
Yeah, they're not. Viewers aren't as distracted. They're actually paying attention to the movie, and if the movie's shit, they will tell you. So yeah,
because even if this was a flop or whatever, they still could have gone ahead with the MonsterVerse because MCU now can afford a few flops here and there just to introduce the characters in order to make the build up of the universe, because they've got so many wins in the bag that a few L's here and there probably don't affect their overall bottom line, because people will come out and see it just because it's got MCU on it. It's a household name now.
Exactly.
I mean, funny enough, that's what this current phase feels like. Is that just a bunch of flops, I'd say. But I mean, they're not so popular as you said, but yeah, I think they're just trying different things and seeing what works, and
I mean,
little beta testing things, like
it's interesting how you word that, because it really does feel like this phase, is it phase 4 we're in or phase 5? I don't know.
I think phase 4, Black Panther, I think is the last movie of phase 4, I think.
Do you guys feel like do you guys feel like they're just kind of riding the wind, that they're riding the coattails of the previous phases? Like nothing has really been strong enough to kind of really stand out.
If you think of it this way, Marvel's done all of their main cast. Everyone else now is second string.
Yeah,
but I think they knew they were after Infinity War. I think they knew there was going to be a dip, so I think it was smart to kind of have this in the middle test phase rather than going straight into the next main set of movies, because obviously if they would have done that and it dipped, then it's kind of like, wow, the whole entire main story, next 10 movies have flopped. So I'm glad they've kind of taken a break and kind of pulled back a little bit.
The thing is, they haven't announced the next Avengers films, haven't they? They've already announced the next Avengers film, so is it much of a break? I don't know. Is this a...
I just mean in terms of the things that they're putting out now, which people are criticizing. When the next set of movies come out, they will be compared to what has come out this year, and obviously we expect they will be a massive. So it will make them look better, so to speak. Don't lose faith, Subi. don't
Werewolf by Night has put a tiny bit of faith, just a tiny bit.
Yeah, cool, guys. So, I mean, I think we've pretty much covered all bases. Like, I'm ready to kind of go to final thoughts. If you guys, unless you guys wanted to touch on anything else, is there anything that stood out to you?
I think that's it for 50 minutes worth of screen time.
Yeah, exactly that.
It didn't really give us a lot to work with, to be honest. Yeah, it was just kind of bare bones.
Did anyone watch the end credits to see if there was any going to be anything after? I can hope, like,
there wasn't.
There was nothing.
No, well, that's a relief. I'd have to go back and watch it out.
I think we
cool.
can go on to scores if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Order up.
All right. Well, I'll just go ahead. So, obviously coming into this, this has been getting a lot of fanfare. I think it was shown at Fantastic Fest. So, when it's shown at these kind of festivals, they tend to build up a lot more sort of acclaim because it's something new, it's something fresh, and obviously they're mainly horror fans, so this is their type of thing. Upon watching it though, I was a little bit sort of underwhelmed, I'd say, just because what we were saying earlier is Law and myself were talking about how the protagonist, the kind of the main characters were the monsters, and that put them on the back foot, because when you make the monsters the main characters, that sort of takes away the fear element, the sense of danger, because obviously these monsters are the ones taking everybody out, and they're not even that malicious. They're not really they're not really monsters you should fear. They're you root for them, if anything, and for that reason you don't really feel that type of dread, which again they were just going for like a fun little thrill romp, which I can appreciate, and I did enjoy it in parts, but ultimately I was just left wanting more, a little bit undercooked, I'd say. So maybe should have went back into the oven and maybe developed some of the characters a bit more. So with the monster hunters, if they made them a bit more diabolical, you would actually root for the monsters, and you'd actually like be happy to sort of see them get taken out. But I did like the action scenes and like the fight scenes. They were really cool, and I did want to see a bit more like gore and dismemberment, because with the whole black and white thing they could get away with that, and I thought it was really clever how they were able to sort of frame certain shots. Ultimately it did kind of give me that level of authenticity, but I think the overacting made it feel like one of those movies that you see in the back of an actual movie. So it's not really supposed to be a genuine movie. It's just like quite campy. Ultimately, I think I would give it a 6 out of 10 because it was still fun, but just left me wanting more, left me hoping for more.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I think I'm right there with you with a 6. And I think what bumps it up to a 6 was the fact they went for that kind of old style horror style atmosphere, the black and white and the sets and the music. I think that's what bumps it up from like a 5 to a 6. I think if they try but make it modern, I actually think it wouldn't have stood out as much, and I would have bumped it down to maybe a 5. But said, it's a nice little watch, and it is very good, I would say, to have something small and isolated rather than these like hour-long series that you need to feel like you have to watch. I just banged this out like in an afternoon, and it was like nothing. So yeah, a very easy watch. I wouldn't mind having some Marvel which are isolated in itself. So yeah, cool. That's me.
For me, I thought I'd give it a 5. It was bland, not much seasoning. Mainly because, I don't know if it's because it was a short, but I didn't feel any attachment to any of the characters really. Even Man Thing, who was technically the star of the show, even though it's about a werewolf. I did like the style, the black and white, the noir feeling. I enjoyed the original Sin City, so that I enjoyed, which is why it's a 5. But aside from that, it didn't really do much for me. First time I watched it, I fell asleep, I had to watch it again. So yeah, I mean, it's just a 5.
Oh Lord.
I can go next. So yeah, I actually quite enjoyed this one. From a filmmaking standpoint, I really enjoyed the shots, the angles, the feel they went for. It definitely mimicked the 50s, 60s horror movie feel, which I'm a fan of. I just, it definitely gave me a good vibe. I think one thing that I would have, actually, I did want to quickly mention, I did try to like put the resolution down to like 480 or something to give it that better of a feel, but unfortunately Disney Plus doesn't let you do that. Disney Plus doesn't let you do that. That's why at parts it was slightly jarring as well that I could tell it was HD, but
you wanted worse quality.
Yeah. I tried. But okay, even without that, I think it was very enjoyable for me. I'd give it a 7, which I believe is well prepared and presented, but not subtle and juicy enough to really bump it up a bit. So I think I've said everything I need to say. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. So advice for next time: they should let you watch in 4:3 ratio.
Yeah, I think
Okay. So yeah, me to wrap it up. I thought this was a good little short. I understand what you guys are saying about not really feeling attached to most of the characters, but I actually think if they had fleshed out the characters more and stretched this out an extra 20 minutes, it would have I would have knocked my 2 points off the rating. I don't think it needed any more time on it. I didn't really need to know much about the other Monster Hunters. I think the main characters we needed to really get a bit of a flavour for were Elsa and Jack Russell, and I think we learned everything we needed to know without massive expedition dumps or turning this into a massive to a 9-episode series or an hour-and-a-half movie. I like the way it was shot. I like the black and white trick that allowed them to enter a bit more gore. I like the fact that, again, they're trying something different, and I hope this is a format they use to introduce other minor MCU characters rather than introducing a series for everyone, because I'm getting sick and tired of MCU series. I'm just probably point blank probably not going to watch many more of them because it's just too much to grapple with. But overall, I think I like the action scenes. I like the characters, Elsa, Jack Russell, and Man-Thing. I thought I'm glad that I think I know everything I need to know. I didn't really want to know more about them, so I think. And again, I could watch this again. It was a very nice, short little film to watch, and it didn't outstay its welcome. So I think I would agree with Subs, and I'll give this a 7. It was well prepared and presented.
So this is basically like the opposite of Nope. Like everything you need to know is there on the screen. There's no research needed. You don't need to go back and you already.
Yeah, I don't have to go away. Me and Ruben don't have to go away doing research trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Nope, there was no afterthought, bro.
Oh man. Nice. Yeah. On another note, on the separate note, I was trying to figure out how they escaped the prison. Did he like bend the bars? Did he like pull the bars apart? Or
kind of. Yeah.
Burst through it, I think. I think he's really, really strong because he looked like he just burst right through them. Because there was like a little gap at the top.
Yeah, I was confused because she was able to what's her name?
She climbed out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she climbed out. Right. Okay.
I don't know how that butler managed to survive, bro. My mum, I didn't even. Bro, he was Batman or something because I didn't even see him in the room like until the end. Like,
you know, in horror films, there's always that one guy that survives that you're just like. It's like everyone just forgets you're there.
I mean, even the audience
he was there because I forgot he was there until he came out at the end. I was like, oh yeah,
it's playing dead or something.
Yeah. I was disappointed that black guy, man. He was so lame. Like I was like, oh, okay, this guy's gonna be like Blade. He's gonna have such a cool death.
After you saw the haircut and you saw the way man was just like suave and just like
yeah.
Like man is clearly feeling himself just suave with his haircut. But I knew.
Just styling, man. Yeah, styling. But the way they took him out, like he literally just fell on the sword. He was like, oh. I was like, oh, come on, man, you could do better than that. Man. Like, where'd they find this guy, man? But cool, man. Well, that's it. That's one down.
They were killing each other in the traditional hunt and that because I was like, if you are the best monster hunters, can you really be killing off each other?
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like the world will need you.
That's true.
There we have it. That's the review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the discussions. And as always, thank you for watching. And any comments, any feedback would be much appreciated. If you want to leave any messages down below on what you liked, what you didn't like about either the review or the movie. And yeah, we always love reading that kind of stuff. So until next time, take it easy, guys.